Skills alone is not enough to qualify someone to work. There are life skills, there are job skills. It's two different things. Life skill qualifies you to be a quality human being. A job skill qualifies you to be a quality employee. There might be a gap in the market, but is there a market in the gap? And businesses don't fail, it is organizations that fail. The business of selling water has not failed, but some water companies has folded. The business of soft drink is still going on, but some organizations that produces soft drink have failed. Every problem is not a problem of money, but it becomes a problem of money once you look into the pockets and you see that there is money in the pockets.
My name is Lilian Onyekachi. So I want to ask you two questions. The first is, what skills and qualities do employers look out for in today's job market? And how can someone intentionally and effectively develop these skills? Then the second question is, how can someone identify and pursue a career path that aligns with their passion and strength, even when they are unsure about the future goals?
When I consult for businesses, one of the things I've noticed is that they start employing workers before knowing why they should start employing workers. Because they know they have to start a business, they start employing people. Instead of identifying a need first, before looking for who can service this need. But the reverse is the case. And sometimes when they look out to hire people, they look out to the wrong thing. Skills alone is not enough to qualify someone to work. There are life skills, there are job skills. It's two different things. The life skill qualifies you to be a quality human being. A job skill qualifies you to be a quality employee. Some of this life skill is being able to work with a team. Okay, communication skill. Because these are the things you use every day in your life. If you're not good in communication, if you're not a team player, if you're not good with an intrapersonal, I'm not talking about interpersonal skill now, intrapersonal skill, like you're not at peace with yourself. You cannot relate with yourself. You cannot relate with anybody. Have you ever seen people that if they have 10 friends, they are having issue with these 10 friends? Have you seen people like that? It happens. So these people, it's not like they cannot communicate with people. They cannot relate with themselves. They have that issue. Sometimes they even have issue with themselves. They are angry with themselves because they don't wake up early. They are angry with themselves that they set a goal and they cannot achieve it. They are angry with themselves in almost everything. They are not satisfied with themselves. In fact, they don't like the color of their face. They don't like the color of their nose. They don't like the color of their hands. If those people come into the organization, they will find fault in everything. So sometimes that's why they will ask you something. What do you think is your weakness? Employers will ask you those questions. What do you think is your weakness? They're asking for these weaknesses not because they want to find something wrong with you. They want to know how you perceive yourself. Why someone also come to that job interview and say that my weaknesses is that I don't wake up on time, I sleep too much, is a weakness. Someone else will come to that same interview and say my weakness is that I don't like things going. When things go wrong, I feel like going mad. The person is outlining a strength as though it's a weakness, because how will you be happy if things go wrong? You should be mad at yourself if things go wrong. The person will say, I just don't tolerate things going wrong. I don't know how to do it. As though it's a weakness, but it outlines how they perceive themselves as an individual. So when you don't perceive yourself in the right way, it shows. So employers should look out for one thing first. Human skills, life skills should be prioritized first over job skills. There are people here that what brought you up to a level in an organization is because you were dogged. When everybody was giving an excuse, you didn't give an excuse. It's a life skill. The job skill might be to know how to type, to know how to design something, to know how to code. But the life skill there is knowing when not to give an excuse. When everybody feels like sleeping, you are up. I read a book then, Laws of Success by Napoleon. He said that one thing that sets you apart is going far more than you are required to do, doing more than you're paid to do. Is a life skill, not a job skill. All right, so I think employers should look out for that. Okay, we're not in a political space. Okay, and how to position yourself for promotion, but the few things I just said now, if it's applied properly, some people climb faster in an organization, while some people will remain in a place. Now, I always say this, when the company is growing more than you're doing, believe me, you become irrelevant in that company. When you are growing faster than the company is growing, you will be given leadership position in that company. So you can do with this information what you want. And someone identify and pursue career paths that aligns with passion and purpose, right? Okay. Depending on the country where you are, if you're in Nigeria, if you're in Africa, if you're in abroad, please pursue your passion. Your passion will pay one day. All right? Because in abroad, you don't like the basic amenities. You can still live with your parents and still be breathing fine. Okay? You can be 40-year-old lady and you're still not married. Nobody cares. Okay? You can go on the street and people will have pity on you and give you money. But in Nigeria, if you pursue your passion, depending on how old you are, so if you are quite very young, pursue your passion. Probably after 7 years, 10 years, your passion might start paying. We are currently doing a book now of how to maximize your passion to profit, pain to profit, and all of that. But in this Nigeria, if you are quite very young, please pursue your passion. But if time is not by your age, or if time is not by your side, please pursue livelihood. You can make all the money and come back to live your passion. Someone, a very rich man, the richest man in China there in Jack Ma, after he has made all the money, he said, I'm going back to my passion to be a teacher, a school teacher. They can afford to live that passion now, but you want to become a school teacher. You discover that you're limited. There are influences you cannot be able to make. There are decisions you cannot be able to make. So, in this locality, please prioritize livelihood. All right? Then, once you start making the livelihood, start taking a percentage of the profit of that livelihood to start pushing your passion. We can call it side hustle. But if what should be a side hustle becomes a main hustle, very soon you'll be at the side for that.
My name is Onyedile Precious, and I have two questions for you. The first one is, what are some financial principles that every aspiring entrepreneur should know? And what are some resources and tools that you can recommend for financial management?
Now, I want to say that accounting principles are different from financial principles. Financial principles are basic principles even a year-old child should know. A year-old child understands that if I'm giving 10 naira, I probably might find a safe somewhere where I will bring 5 naira and put inside that safe for tomorrow. Even a child understands that I want to buy a toy tomorrow, so I start saving $1 every day out of the $5 I'm giving to buy this. Now, one basic financial principle every entrepreneur should have is the principle of savings. People might argue that you can save 10%. But I always argue, please, forget this 10. If you can save 20, it's better. If you can save 30, it's okay. The higher you can save, the better it is. Why am I saying this? Sometimes we engage in businesses that the profit margin we have is about 5%, 3%. And out of that, we discover that we don't have much to save. All right. But as much as possible, I always say this, find a way to lower costs. Find a way to increase profits. Even if you have to increase your price to do that, increase your price so that you would have enough margin to save, because this is where the future of your business lies. The future of your business does not lie in the number of customers you have. It's good. But if you're not making enough from those customers, it's still useless. Someone can have 1 million customers, but hardly makes profit from that 1 million customers. Someone can have just 100 customers, makes more profits than the person who has 1 million customers. In fact, the dangers of having more customers is more, because the more customers you're having, the more cost you are incurring, because if you're running a service-based business, you have to hire more customer service managers, customer relationship managers. Your payroll is increasing. So if you can also find a way to systemize your operations to cut costs. Why? So that you can increase this margin, this profit margin. It's a principle as old as humans. All right. Then, where civilization started, that was in Egypt. A pharaoh had a dream and said, what can we do to save this financial crisis that is about to come, this inflation that is about to come? And they called someone from the prison, and the person said, what can save you from this is one thing. Find a way to save at least 20%. And 20% that was saved over a period of 7 years became an asset that run the business and the economy of the world now, not just that country, not just the country of Egypt, but the world economy for the next 7 years. So I will always argue 10% is not enough. Go for 20 minimum. No matter how poor the business is, set aside something. It's a financial principle. All right. It might look so basic, but it's the most important savings. Question: what can you recommend? Can you recommend any resources or tools for financial management? Now, when we talk about financial management, people might start looking at software they have to pay for. There are lots of them. Some of them can be subscribed for. But then, let's even do the minimal things. Like, there was a time I opened a WhatsApp group. I added only myself. Every money I will spend, that was the early days of the business, around 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Every 1 naira I spend, I type it to myself on that WhatsApp group that I'm the only person there. So at the end of the month, I keep track of these expenses and ask myself, how much has been spent so far in this business? Something as simple as that is very key. Now, those are free if you're running a sole entrepreneurship. But then, if the business starts increasing, the basic financial knowledge of using Excel sheets is very important. Create rows, create columns, month by month, day by day. Expenses category. Let's say every month, what are the expenses that whether you make sales or not, you must make those expenses. Expenses of fueling the generator, expenses of buying data, expenses of buying water, expenses of whatever expenses that whether the customer walks in or not, that expenses must be made. Put them down as your recurring expenses, operational expenses. That's what it's called. Note them down in an Excel sheet. At every point in time, always map something out to it. By so doing, it would help you. So I would just recommend this too. For the start, if you're starting a business, use yourself, open a WhatsApp group, have a journal, pen those things down, have an Excel sheet, include those things in an Excel sheet. As time goes on, you can now hire an accountant and start using software like Peachtree, start using accounting softwares and the rest of that to manage your things. But for now, start with the basic. It will help you.
Honor a favor by name. And my question is, a lot of young people, including myself, have mind-blowing business ideas. But because of the cost of consultation, location, lack of mentor, and capital as a whole, they seem to have issues starting business. Now, the question is, using yourself as a case study, what can you advise? What do you believe is the most common mistake entrepreneurs make when managing their finances? And how do you advise clients to avoid it? All right. Another question is, considering the prevalence of data breaches and cybersecurity threats recently, what measures can you recommend for businesses to protect their financial assets?
One of the things you discover is that they hardly separate the business record or the business finances from personal finances. So they think the business money is their money. So at any point in time, they can actually go into the business money, take money, and then solve their personal problems. But in the actual sense, it doesn't work like that. The business is different, at least should be differentiated from the individual. Whether you're working as a sole entrepreneur, you're working as a corporate entrepreneur, as the case may be, always make that differentiation. The money that belongs to the business is not your money, and your money is not the business money. Each time you need to put hands into the business money, always see that you're borrowing money or the business is lending money to you. And each time you're bringing in your own money to the business, always see that you are lending money to the business. And we do that a lot here. All right. So that is one of the mistakes. Another thing is that not having enough financial discipline to do some things at every need, at everything that ought to be done, it must not be done. Always ask yourself, if we delay this, will it still be important tomorrow? Will it still be important in 2 months' time? If these expenses is avoided, how else can it be done? And sometimes ask yourself, what if this money is not available? How else will this project be done? By so you also see another means or other means of solving the same problem, but then without money. So every problem is not a problem of money, but it becomes a problem of money once you look into the pockets and you see that there is money in the pockets. You'll be forced to dig your hands into the pockets to take the money. So it's a big financial mistake people make. If you don't get anything out of that, always separate the finances of you as an entrepreneur from the finances of the business. It would go a long way. Okay. The second question you asked, you also asked the question about, if I got that right, there are a lot of young people, including yourself, have blowing business ideas. Now, when it comes to consultations, people actually have done businesses without consulting anybody. And just about 3% of such businesses succeeded. Now, someone asked the question, if you want to do a business, have someone else done that business before? So let me put it the exact way the person said. He said, there might be a gap in the market, but is there a market in the gap? It's two different things. You might say that nobody is doing this particular business, nobody is selling this, but then it's a gap in the market. But have you asked yourself, how many people actually wants to buy this? That means, is there a market in the gap? So, but then if you don't have a consultant who does this feasibility study for you, who does this market research for you, how then do you want to move on from there? I've said it several, we've done a business for a whole 2 years, and having to sit with a mentor in 2 minutes, I discovered that we've been making mistakes for the past 2 years. And the mistake of the 2 years was corrected in 2 minutes. What if we have done that first before starting the business? So there's always a need to consult. It must not be a professional who you have to pay. It can be someone who knows more than you do, someone who has done the business before, someone who is doing the business currently but in another location that you are not planning to start the business in. Ask questions, and then the person would help you would also help guide you. So it's not always about, when people hear consultation, they think you have to pay money for someone to consult for you and the rest, but it can be simple questions, simple questionnaires you share on the street and the rest of that, getting people's opinion. It makes a lot of difference. Then coming to that of data breaches and cybersecurity, there was almost about 3 weeks, a month to 2 months. In fact, I wasn't sleeping well because we were losing money constantly. We had loopholes in our hosting. We'll send out emails for people to make payments. The payments won't come. We'll send a reply, the feedback won't come. And we lost over, I don't want to mention amount, but it was in almost tens of thousands of dollars. It was that much. So I moved the hosting from the current hosting, because of the process there, to another more secured hosting. Changed our emails to a more professional email, and you started using a particular company's email, a very big company. I don't want to market for any company. So these things helps. Sometimes you think of the cost of getting something, okay, but then because the cost is very expensive, what we don't think about is what is the cost of not getting that thing. Okay, so you don't just think about the cost of getting something, you think about the cost of not getting that thing. So we are thinking of the cost of using the bigger hosting, the more secured hosting spaces. But then we discovered that we paid more for not getting it. So that is it. So when it comes to security, especially if your business runs online, if your data is online, if you're doing a couple of things online, the first thing you should do is think security, okay, and make it open to people to trust you, knowing that your security is very much secured. What are the things you can put in place? Security first.
My name is Abiola Philip, and my question is, considering the level of challenges and difficulties that might actually come with venturing into the entrepreneurial journey, are there techniques or methods that you've employed in maintaining a positive mindset towards your goals? And also, are there ever been times that you failed in some certain things, and how exactly did you balance it?
Now, we've all had challenges, but one thing that helped me provide or maintain a positive mindset is I guide my space jealously. Now, some of us must have entered my personal office, and the picture directly opposite my seat was not for decoration. As a stranger, you're walking is a decoration to you, but for me, it's not a decoration. It says that where there is a will, I'm rephrasing the words now, where there is a will, there is always a way. He that will always see a way, there must always be a way for the person. So no matter what plan I have in my head, once I feel way down and I look at that picture, it's not the picture of Jesus Christ, it's not the picture of Mary, it's not the picture, it's just a quote that rings in my mind that creates a positivity mindset for me. It is possible. Throughout my undergraduate days, I always put something. That mantra, it was in my notes. Once I opened my notes, it was everywhere. there is always a way. So I don't tell myself this cannot be done. It's not in my language. There will always be a way. There is always a way. So in my phone, if I pop up my phone at any point in time, you always see a quote on my screen, reshuffling itself. This is me trying to maintain a positive mindset. While I was living with a relative, in my room, I had a quote. It was stick to the ceiling. Like, if I'm waking up and open my eyes, my head is on the pillow, the first thing I see are those numbers pasted on the roof. So imagine how you're sleeping, your head is on the pillow, and you open your eyes, the first thing you see on the roof are a set of numbers. Those numbers were pasted there for more than 2 years. I protect my space so much that for 1 year, I listened to 4 sets of songs on repeat for a whole year. I don't know who can do that. So those are Christian songs that inspired my faith, but I was in a particular stage of my life, that period, that I needed to protect my space and tell myself it is always possible. So understanding that association matters as well, I was very skeptical about the friends I was keeping. In fact, I had a lot of breakups, both with guys and ladies. I deleted a couple of numbers. Okay. If there is no agenda, there is no meeting. If you come here for a meeting, the first thing I'll ask, what's the agenda? If there is no agenda, there is no meeting. If the agenda is not worth it, there is no meeting. If the agenda does not bring money, there is no meeting. I was that stern. In fact, people in my house then, they knew that if my phone rings and I don't pick, they always say something. Will I say this cannot go bring money? It was as simple as that. I needed to come out from that phase of life. So I had to shut off a lot of things. I protect my space jealously. There are times I disappear for 1 week, 2 weeks. I fill my space with a lot of things that would build my mindset. When I come back, I can start teaching others, do this, do this, do this. It's as a result of what I had or I incubated on for the past 2 weeks. It happens. That is how it works for me. It can work somehow else for someone else. Okay. Then someone might ask, have you had failures or challenges? Who have not had failures? Who have not failed before? I have these 2 friends. I always tell them something fast. There was a time when I'll jokingly say it anyway, I had Miracle 2000. 2000 that never finished. 2000 that never finished. No matter what expenses I would do, I don't know how it happened, but that 2000 does not finish. I always spend from that 2000, it won't finish. I don't know how it happened, but it's a 2000 that never finishes. But then that was the bottom rock where I was. So just 2 days ago, I was speaking with a friend. I told the friend, I wanted to execute a plan. He said, what if this plan fails? I said, if it fails, he that is at the bottom does not fear further fall. Because if you're already on the ground, where else are you failing to? So we've seen the ground, we've seen the failures. And one thing he did for us was that we didn't develop tough skin. We developed confidence, knowing that even if you step out and it fails, it's not new. You dust yourself. But then sometimes there is something that gives you that confidence to even step out to take the risk. That confidence is knowing that, I always call it this burn rate. Burn rate. It's always knowing that if this business fails, there is a reserve somewhere you can always dip your hand again and try again. All right. So for every business I want to do, if what I have and the only money I have is the capital needed for that business, I don't do it. Like this business will cost me 10,000 naira to do or $10,000 to do. And all I have is $10,000. I don't go in. I'll find a way to work with at least 30% of the total savings of what I have to test run. If it fails, I dip my hand back again, pick up another 30% and try. If it fails, I'll dip my hand again for this 30% and work it out. Before you do it 3 times, 4 times, you will get a working plan. Someone will say, what if you spend all that money trying and it didn't work? What now happens? Because you've had a level of experience, it will be easier to tell someone, I have done this business before. I've had this experience. Can you bring your money? Let's try. The person could trust you because you have the experience, you have the technical know-how. And you would tell the person, I'll bring the experiences, I'll bring my contacts, I'll bring the relationship, provide the money. Because while you are spending your own money, you've gained the experience. While you are spending your money, you've gained some relationships. While you are spending the money, you've had some contacts. You've learned how not to do the business. So it's not failure. You're just learning how not to do it. I was speaking with someone here in this meeting. I said something one time. I said, you have all the time now to experiment as much as you can. Because at that point, the level of money I had and the level I was then, I didn't have enough liberty to experiment further on some things. Until recently, I started experimenting again. So when you have enough funds, experiment. So I always tell people, before you quit your job, listen very carefully to this one. Before you quit your job, make sure you've experimented enough with your salaries in that business you want to start. In fact, it's easier to start a business while still being an employee. Because if that business fails, you know that the next month's salary is coming. If the next month's salary fails, you know the next 3 months' salary is coming. You have enough time to experiment. But once you now say, I don't quit my job, I want to now go into this business, and you've not been running this experiment, you've not been trying, you've not been failing, and you fail in that one, I don't want to tell you your future. But it happens, all right? So I've explained the burn rates. How much more can you do that business without burning out? It's very important.
Hey, my name is Wadike Emmanuel, and I have 2 questions to answer. The first question is, how important is it for a person to have a mentor? And then, is it necessary for a mentor to be someone you know and you are in constant communication with? And then the second question is, what is the process of choosing a mentor?
How important is it to have a mentor? I think I've already addressed that. Mentorship is in fact, cannot be overemphasized. Even if you emphasize on this on a daily basis, it's very much important. One, a mentor is not someone who you admire from afar. A mentor is not someone who you've read his book so much. A mentor is not someone you appreciate or someone you love the way he does things. For someone to qualify as a mentor, you can call those people you look up to. You can call them people you want to become like them tomorrow. But a mentor is someone who has done what you want to do. In fact, his presence is the future you're looking at. Because he has already gone the journey, he has already done the work, and you're only trying to see his footsteps, to walk in those footsteps. And for someone to qualify as a mentor, if you don't have someone's contact, you can't call the person up to say, I have this problem, I need this solution. The person is yet not a mentor. Okay, the person can be a fan. You can go through their social media pages, like it, see what they're doing, copy some of their works, read their books, yet they are still not your mentor until you can say you've had their contacts. You can discuss your business issues with them. And mistakes people make is that when you talk about mentorship, they think your mentor should have your time. It's a big fallacy. Your mentor does not have your time. Your mentor does not need you. As a matter of fact, you need him. So to have an effective mentorship, first, you should have your mentor's time. In as well as you want something to benefit from the mentor, you should also ask yourself, what can this mentor benefit from me? So it's a value you need to give. In fact, I have this principle for every new person I meet, whether as a friend, as a mentor. The principle is this: give, give, give. I mentioned it 3 times. It's intentional. Before asking for. So before taking, give, give, and give. So when someone knows you're always giving value, you're always offering value, you're always asking, what can I do for you? I understand you're busy. Can I take up this off your schedules? They know that there is a value exchange. When you now ask for value in return, they'll have your time. So this is part of the things you do. But then when you approach a mentor from the aspect of always taking, in fact, you don't even ask your mentor for money. You don't ask your mentor for financial assistance. That's not why you're there. Okay? So you should prove yourself to be independent on yourself before they can even look at you as someone they should give their time. Because if tomorrow you call me, you want me to be your mentor, and the next day you call, you're telling me about your problems, billing me, telling me about your school fees, about this thing you want to do that you don't have the money to do, and you're expecting me to fund that project. Believe me, if you become a stress to me in 2 days time, 3 days time, if I see your call, I will associate it to be a disturbance. But if at every point my phone rings and I know you're about asking me, do you have a task to be done? Can I help you with this task? I'll be happy picking your call. In fact, even if I have a task, I'll be happy calling you up to say, please, I have this task. Can you handle this task? I had a mentor when I was serving. I worked in 3 different organizations. And these 3 different organizations, I was not being paid. I intentionally, one of them, I said, I don't want to be paid. I want to work. What that mindset did alone was that I had a lot of jobs on my table, a lot of tasks on my table. But the fact remains that I was learning from every of those tasks. I was not being paid. I was using my money to run around some errands. But the meetings I entered with these guys alone, I can't enter those places. The errands they sent me to, just getting to the gate to mention their names, the doors were opening. Why? Because I was not expecting payment from them. I was doing the jobs for them without collecting a dime. So even when I finished my service here and I started a business, when I got a job offer, not job offer like working for someone, but a proposal to handle a task, it's a task I've never done before. I don't know how to do it. But I called up this mentor. I said, this is a task before me. In fact, that was the first time I wrote a BOI business plan for Bank of Industry. So I've never written such plan before. I've never written such project scope before. But then I called up. I said, please, I have this task before me. A client is asking that I do this. He said, please, don't bother yourself. I already told the client this project will be ready in 3 weeks' time. I called him on the Sunday. That was on the Friday. I called him on the Sunday. I said, this is the task before me. What can you do for me? He said, don't worry. You don't need to stress yourself. He sent me a full-fledged business plan, project scope of another business that is the same business with this one I was about to write. He said, all you have to do is the finances are the same. It's BOI. It's either you're applying for 10 million or above 10 million. The same thing. And in 3 days, I delivered that work. But in exchange, what I did was that when I got that payment, I called this payment up. I said, please, thank you very much. This was the amount I was paid for this. I'm sending 50% of this money to you because it saved me the stress. I've never done this before. If I had gone to learn this, I'll pay more. Are you seeing how the mentorship relationship is? You are not just gaining. The mentor is also benefiting. That is how to build effective mentorship. First, I will reiterate again. If the person is far off that you cannot reach out, he's still not a mentor. Build that relationship to a point where you're able to get the person's time to yourself.
So, thank you. My name is Okeke Kusoshku Grace, and I have a question to ask. My question is, following the economic crisis, we all know that a lot of businesses have failed. So, I want to know the measures you put or the strategy you use that makes your business still profiting.
There is no certainty. There is no 100% certainty in businesses. Sometimes I must admit that luck plays a part in business. But luck only plays a part when you've expanded the surface area of luck. Okay. There was a time in business where most of my friends were all doing the same business, and their businesses, because of changes in innovation, technological changes, technological innovations, all their businesses went off. But we are doing the same business. That was a part of luck. But then there were things we did. We had enough staff strength. Now, there are benefits people have in business. We have financial strength. We have staff strength. We have time strength. Some businesses might have an issue, or there might be a shake in the industry. people who can make changes faster would win. Now, you might have enough time to make that changes, which is the time strength, but you don't have the financial strength to implement that stuff. You might have the time strength and the financial strength, but you don't have the technical strength, which is the staff strength. What has always saved us was that sometimes when we decide to move from one platform to another platform, we have enough staff strength to say that, let's move. And in less time, we replicate the same results. Other people might have that money, but before they go about recruiting the technical strength, they've lost the timing. Some other people might foresee the timing, but they don't have enough financial strength to do that. So these three things must be in place for someone to be able to make adjustments with quick changes. Now, I will explain. These things I'm saying, I didn't read them from a book. In fact, I read them from the Bible. The Bible is a book. How did I know this? David and Goliath, these three things was available to them. Goliath had the strength, but he had the human strength. He had a lot of things that delayed him of timing. He had a lot of armors that were heavy. David tested the same armor and said, it will deny me of my time strength. I won't be able to run fast. I won't be able to do things. But then you'll be protected, right? But then it would deny me of time, speed of execution. That was what he was trying to do. So execution is everything in business. If you can execute fast, is a strength. David actualized that. He said, I don't need all these armors. It will deny me of this time strength. I won't be able to execute fast. That was one. Goliath had the financial strength. Okay. And so he was so much relaxed. David also had financial strength, but not in money, but in resources. Now, someone has something money can buy or something money cannot buy. If you want to do something and all you need to do is to spend money, someone else can do the same thing without spending the money. So David also had financial strength because they had different weapons. All those weapons served as their financial strength, but in different capacity. The staff strength was there for both parties. This camp had the level of staff. This camp had the level of staff. But the difference for them was this time strength. And one thing with being small is not always a disadvantage. Let me explain. You can have 2 staff, 5 staff. It doesn't mean that the person who had 200 staff will do better. Because the more people you have in the organization, if you're not careful, you have more bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is that before you make decisions, you will call for meetings. This person will have to approve. Regional manager will approve. State manager will have to approve. Branch manager will have to approve. All these approval. Before it will be executed, 2 months, 3 months has gone. But for David, it was very easy for him. He was very small. He was not reporting to anybody. All he needed was he found a space. Okay, I forgot to add something. Market strength. David found a gap in the market and he maximized that gap in the market. What was that gap? Out of all the places, Goliath had many branches, for example, had many armors, the one that covered his hands, the one that covered the legs, the one that covered the chest, the one that covered the ribs, but he has not covered a particular location, which was his forehead. And David knew that the best thing to do is that I cannot compete with these guys. He already had branches in this location. Let me go to a location he does not have any branch and start. And funny enough, that location has the biggest market segment. And he targeted that market and won the battle. This same thing now, the Bible is complete. I'm not preaching the Bible, but it's complete. Whatever stories you read, you can apply the way you want. But I've been able to extract these things from it. The time strength, the financial strength, the staff strength, and the market strength. If you can go to market first, it's a privilege. If you can find an uncontested market, it's a privilege. So when people are saying that this business is failing, that business that is failing in Onitsha, for example, can be scaling in Abuja. That business that is scaling in Abuja Maybe people in Lagos have not even heard about it. When you take it to that place, you become a champion. So businesses don't fail, as people say. It is organizations that fail. I'll say it again. Businesses don't fail. It is organizations that fail. Let me explain. The business of selling water has not failed, but some water companies has folded, right?
Yes.
Those organizations, they failed, but the business of water is still going on. The business of soft drink is still going on, but some organization that produces soft drink have failed. They've gone into extinction. How many people remember Minankwa? They failed. They've gone off. But Nutrici is still in the market, have you?
Yes.
Capricorn is still in the market.
Yes.
They still produce soft drinks for children. Businesses don't fail. It is the organizations that fail.
My name is Chagozim. I just have a question to ask. If you have a product that you want to venture into it, how will you advertise it?
Okay, how do you introduce a new product in the market? There are different ways. I'll borrow some of the things here too. If a product is new in the market, let's say, first, is the market saturated? What is the quality of the product? First, is the market saturated? That's one. What is the price of your competitors? What is the quality of your competitors? Now, I'll put it this way. The era when you'd have Odenburg, there is this milk, Odenburger, ladder milk, those days. You'd have pig milk. Cowbell wanted to come into the market. They were new. They discovered that all these companies were selling in 500 gram sachets, tin of 900 gram. They told themselves, let us even go to people that don't have money and increase the numbers. What they did was that they started selling sachets of 5 naira, 10 naira, because people that could not be able to buy the tin, the 900 gram tin. Odenburger was selling almost 1 kg tin. They started selling 10 naira sachet milk, 5 naira sachet milk. They started somewhere. I also state these two products, Jik and Hypo. When Jik was dominating the market, they had cans, 50 cl can, 1 liter can, 2 liter can. Hypo came in and started looking for that spot in Goliath's hedge, uncontested market. They went into families. I remember one day in my house, someone knocked and said, we are from Hypo. We have sachet Hypo. We want to wash your toilet for you with this Hypo. I said, give it to me. He said, no, we want to wash it by ourselves. They didn't just produce the sachet. They launched a campaign to go in to the neighborhoods. I don't know if my neighborhood looked like people that could not share the jig, but they came into those sub-neighborhoods that probably they thought would appreciate the sachets more. So they are not just introducing it, they're also showing you the efficacy and the power and the quality of this. So if you are in a new market, 3 things are involved. Can you produce the same thing in a cheaper way? Can you make the product better? And how fast can you bring it to the market? Speed. I'll explain. If your new product is cheaper, it's an advantage. If the new product is better, it's a double advantage. If you can get people to buy it very fast, you've won the market. So when people were going to market to buy Jig, Hypo was knocking in people's door to test the product. And after testing it, you'll be like, wow, this is awesome. How much is it? I want to buy. The price they will sell it to you will cover the one they spent in your house. So they capitalized on these 3 things. Cheap, better, and speed. If you can't have the 3, have the 2. Any combination of the 2 you have, you will still win the market. Either with speed, with price, or with quality. I'll give you an example because I've talked about the small companies. Let's talk about the big companies. Companies like Facebook. I was reading a book, Blitzscaling. There was one time, say, their philosophy was centered on speed. They were not earning a dime. In fact, their ideology, if you walk into the office, what you will see is move fast and break things. Move fast and break. In fact, there was a time I wanted to hang it here. I noticed that it will take me a series of teaching before I can hang it. Okay. But then the ideology behind that is that they needed to, Snapchat came into the market when they were still young, when Facebook was still struggling. Instagram came into the market. WhatsApp was there. They've not bought WhatsApp then. They knew that if Facebook would survive, they need to develop as many features as possible in a very short period of time. So they needed speed. And all they needed was, they were not encouraging accuracy. They were not encouraging correctness. They just wanted be fast. Develop feature. There was, I don't know who, some people can, there was a night about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, Facebook was down. There was a time that happened. They had a lot of errors, server downtimes, but they didn't care. All they needed was speed, because if they would do as much as possible, they needed speed. When they achieved this speed, what they started doing was that they started buying up those companies one after the other. They bought up IG, bought up WhatsApp, priced Snapchat, and Snapchat didn't want to sell. In split of 3 weeks or 1 month, they replicated all the features of Snapchat to Facebook. Speed. That's how product comes to life. If these three things can be done better. So if you're handling any of our products, you can start thinking of these three things. How can we bring in these three things into the products? That is how it works. Cheap, better, speed.
My name is Victor, and I have one question to ask. If you have a business idea and you know so much about this business, but you do not have the money to start the business, and you do not want to collect loan, to start the business. So the idea is that you want to get people to work for you just to get the percentage of the company. Is it a good idea or a bad idea? If it's a good idea, what are the best things you should put in place? And then if it's a bad idea, what are the consequences?
You have to start a business and you don't have the resources. Now, there are different types of capital. There is financial capital is only one of it. Financial capital is only one of the many capital resources needed to start a business. There is relationship. There is negotiation. There is trust capital. There is time capital. There are other types of capital. Now, if you don't have the finances, you should have these three: the relationship, negotiating skill, the trust, and the time. I will explain. What happens with finances is that when you have all the money, okay, you can be sure that you can do a couple of things very well. But let's assume you don't have all the money, but you have the relationship. You know someone. Now, okay, let's put it this way. If you have all the money, what will you do with that money? You will rent an apartment, right? To rent an office, it means you need to meet the landlord or the agent. Now, but the scenario now is that you don't have the money. Can you still meet with that landlord and say, I don't have the money for 1 year rent, but I will give you money for 6 months rent, which is what I have. If I don't complete this money in 3 months time, you can quit me or probably quit me out or probably exit me from this property at the 3rd month. Nobody will say no. Because the person will feel like you're paying for 6 months and you're signing up for 3 months is negotiation. When you negotiate in a way that you always keep others at advantage, they always say yes. So you don't have the money. It doesn't mean that things will not work. There's a relationship there. There's this concept of using other people's money. Do you know people that have the money? But then for them to be able to look you in the face and bring out their money, is that they've seen trust and a level of integrity. That trust is not necessarily because they know you that you're always saying the truth. It's different. I will explain the concept of trust very well and integrity. And you all can join me. If you are on an operating table You're about to be operated for appendix, for example, and you have a doctor who is very truthful, full of integrity. He has never told a lie all his life, but that will be his first operation. Or you have a surgeon who always tells lies, he smokes, humanizes, but have had 100% success in every operation. Who would you keep your body for? Okay. The smoker, right? That womanizes. Okay. So trust is relative. For some people, trust is having integrity, saying the truth. For some people, trust is about knowing your onion, knowing your job 100%. It's two different things. So, but why I say trust and integrity here is that I'm combining the both. Trust needs to be there. Integrity needs to be there. Trust that you understand the business you're about to go into. Integrity that you'll be sincere enough to be transparent in the course of that business. If they find these two things, they'll bring in their money. Trust and integrity. I have seen good people, very wonderful people. They are very good. They are excellent. But someone walked into this office one day, explained a lot of business ideas and how much he needed. I asked some questions. I noticed that even me, I cannot put my money there. He's very sincere. He's a good Christian. He doesn't lie. But he has the integrity, but he does not have the trust. The trust is, what have you done before? What is your track record? He has not done that business before. My money is not the money you can use to experiment. Go and experiment with your money first and fail several times and learn. Then come back. We can now talk. Trust and integrity. So if you can have this, even if you don't have the money, people will happily bring in their money. All right. Now, someone who has worked in PayPal, for example, left PayPal and started Starlinks and asked people, and started Tesla. I know why I don't want to use, but the person left PayPal, sold off his shares, started Tesla, and in a meeting, launched the product that is not yet made and told people to buy the products. About 2,000 persons paid. And with the money of those 2,000 persons, the money was brought into the business and operation started. He was not the first person that did it. That was Elon Musk. Someone has done that before, Henry Ford. He wanted to start a business of producing cars. In fact, he was called the king of assembly lines. He wanted to start a business. He met people that knew he had the trust and integrity. They bought, in fact, a man made a deposit for 1,000 cars. With that capital, he produced that 1,000 cars and supplied to the man, and the business started. He's one that did not enter that business. But now, sometimes the mistake we make is that because people brought in their money into that business, they want to negotiate us out of that business. Now, the idea is yours. Someone brought, even if the person brought 100% of the capital, and the person is demanding that because all the money is my money, I have to take 70% of the shares, 60% of the shares. The person can as well hold his money. Let's see how the money will grow. As long as you can negotiate and you need this, you have this trust and integrity, you can stand your ground to negotiate. All right. So that someone is bringing 100% of the money does not mean the person is taking 100% of the shares. The person can just take 5% of the shares, 10% of the shares. That is what happens when you use other people's money to start a business. There was a time in my own business, people were bringing in their money to do the business. And this, no matter the amount of money they brought, I will tell them 5% is the best I can offer. And it's only within the period of 6 months or 1 year. After that, it expires. It happens like that. So protect your business as much as you can.
Okay, my name is Vamisama Precious, and I have 2 questions to ask you, sir. The first one is, what was your take on leadership and management? And the second question is, what self-improvement strategy do you use?
So for leadership and management, leadership is first who you are or who you become. Management is what you do. Now, in administration, it's much better to raise leaders than to raise managers. A leader sets the vision. The managers, they run with the vision. The leader sets the direction. The managers take other people to that direction. The leader has done the work and has come back to point people to the direction and takes them by the hand to the destination. The manager makes sure things are going fine. A perfect example is this. The CEO of a business sets direction for the business, but then, because he might not always be present, he sets manager in place. Managers could be an accounting manager who makes sure that everyday operations are going on. The HR manager who makes sure everybody comes to work on time. Compliance manager who always issues and makes sure things are done orderly. There was a point, I'll still make reference to the Bible. God appointed a leader in the Bible, and the person left leadership position and started running managerial tasks. And that was Moses. He ran managerial tasks so much to the point where he was weighed down, until one day the father-in-law came and said, you need to be a leader and not a manager. Set managers to take care of 50s, 100s. Okay? So whatever the managers cannot handle, it should be brought to the leader. And that was how I developed this philosophy in business. If you have not spoken to the low-level manager, don't talk to the higher-level manager. If you've not spoken to the HR about not being present to work, don't come to the boss to take permission. Because the boss might not understand, the HR will understand you better. So if it's an issue that the HR cannot handle, let it come to the business manager. If there's an issue the business manager cannot handle, they'll bring it to the leader. That is how it works. So organogram in every business matters a lot. Even in heaven, if you go to heaven, you will discover that you don't have direct access to God. You might discover that because he has set men in solitary places, right? And he has, to some people who would give a reward of 5 stars, 10 stars, 7 stars. Do you think it's for fashion? You'll be reporting to somebody. For the fact that God created the universe and he dedicated the book of Leviticus alone to talk about organogram, priesthood, constitutions, how things should be done, which priest should report to which priest, how Aaron should take up the sacrifices, what should be done, how you should enter the temple, which clothes you should wear. Heaven will not be easy. It's a very disciplined place, but there will be joy with the discipline. That is how every organization should be. There should be a book dedicated for managerial procedures. What time does work start? If you want to do this, how should it be done? We call it SOP. It happens in every organization. Let's say now, people that produce this water you're drinking now, I don't want to raise it, but okay, now let me use this. People that produce this, they have a system of operation that made this possible. When you come to the aircraft industry, for example, the aeronautical industry, you can't approach an aircraft for maintenance without a manual in your hand. If you do that, you're sacked. In fact, you will lose your license. That is system of operations. No guesswork. How many minutes should this be done before transferring to the other machine? Have you noticed that if you go to Chicken Republic, for example, all their branches, the chicken you eat in Lagos, if you go to Abiyokuta, it tastes the same. If you go to Abuja, the same chicken, it tastes the same. Why is it so? They've built a system of operation in that business that even if you finished SS3 now and came to work with them, once they hand over that manual to you and you put the chicken in a flour for 2 minutes and bring it out, put it in an oil of 80 degrees Celsius for 5 minutes and bring it out, put it in the dryer for 25 minutes and bring it out, put it in the cooler. That is how, what that thing you're doing, it is a manual that has been prescribed. That is how it's been done every other place. The Coca-Cola bottle you're drinking on nature is the same of the one you're drinking in your village. The one you're drinking in Lagos is not different from the one in Abuja. If you go to Transcorp and drink Coke, it's the same with the one you're drinking Gotaside. System of operations. That is why people will have branches. If you go to a First Bank branch in Onitsha, the same way the gate man will open the door, welcome to First Bank, In the same way, the one in Abuja will open the door. Welcome to First Bank. They've been taught system of operation. That is management. The person who drew out that management plan is called a leader. It's two different things.
My name is Favor Wadike, and I have 3 questions to ask you. So the first question is, and the first one is that I'd like you to share a financial mistake you made at any point in your life and the lessons you learned from that mistake. And then for someone that is learning on personal finance and how to manage their finances properly, what are the books or courses you can recommend? Then the second question is, what investments have you found profitable and which ones can you advise someone to take on? And my third question is this, I don't really know how to put it, but there is this saying that a salary is a bribe for you to forget your dreams and work on another person's dreams. So my question is this, for someone that like they don't really have enough resources to fund their dreams, like they really need the capital and the only way is to work under somebody, what can you advise person?
How can I advise clients not to make the same mistakes? I've lost money. In fact, there was a point in life I had, like I said, I don't put everything I have in a business. I tried something. That was the era of Forex. And that should be around 2018, 2019. I put out about ₦1 million. ₦1 million then should be up to about $2,000 or so, or 2,000 something dollars. I tried Forex. All that money went for vanishing in the space of 2 months. It was, in fact, at home then, there is this joke people say that I became pious. Like, you know how pious became? Like, I became very calm, like someone with pneumonia. I had to go back to recalculate. But what that thing taught me is this. I don't invest, and I advise people, never invest in a maybe. If it's a maybe, please don't invest. Now, if it is a do for me business, don't invest. It's not that the business will not work, but at least you need to understand the basics of how that business works. Okay, so if it's a do for me, please don't even try it. Okay. If it's a business, you don't understand the business side of it. Now, I always say it, you can understand how to bake cake. But to start earning from it, you have to understand the business of baking. You can have the skills of baking, but do you have the business of bakery? It's always something to talk about. You can understand all this. If you don't understand how the business works, please, clear. It doesn't work like that. And if I'm making sense to someone, but that is how it works. It's two different things. So avoid investing in a maybe. But someone will ask, every business is a maybe after all. Yes, but there is a calculated certainty in every business. There is a rate of certainty. Now, if you draw out a business plan, if you do your feasibility studies, it's something else. When you know someone who has succeeded in that business, I stayed in a business for long, like the one I talked about, I did for 2 years. What sustained me in that business, even after burning resources after resources, in fact, all the money I saved as an NYSC corper was burnt, all of them. Someone called me one and gave me 400K. But that was my brother. And said, I know you want to do this, take this, go and do this. All that money went for vanishing in the same business. So I burnt money and burnt money and burnt money. All right. Until a certain point in time, I had to ask a question. What sustained me was that I know people who are doing the same business and are succeeding. That was why I had the confidence. But that was the feasibility study I need to do. And that is the benefit of competition. When you're doing a business and nobody else is doing it, be careful, because you don't even know whether they tried it and there is no road and they came out. I will say it again, there could be a gap in the market, but is there a market in the gap? It's very important.